Hey friends, Mark from the Spark here. Quick question, which is better, the Kindle app on a tablet or an actual Kindle device? Well, in this video, I'm going to compare them, see where they match up in terms of features and where they don't, and then I'll weigh up the pros and cons and give you my verdict at the end. Okay, so here we are. I thought I would start with the most obvious, and that is the color comparison from a Kindle Colorsoft here to my iPad mini here. And as you can see, the color just pops a lot more on the iPad mini, which is kind of obvious. This is an LCD screen with a backlight. This is e-ink with a front light covering the front of it. Now, it is entirely subjective, which you prefer. If you want all the colors, then yep, the Kindle app wins hands down. But if you want something that's potentially, and some might suggest, a little more book-like, then the Kindle Colorsoft will win here too. And in fact, while we're on the color, let's go back to our library and let's go look at comics. So we look at the Darth Vader one here. And we've got the Darth Vader open here again, just to compare that. And obviously, again, you can see that the Colorsoft is slower to do all sorts of things than the iPad mini, because this thing has to refresh the screen to stop the ghosting. Now, what's a clever thing about a lot of comics you can get on the Kindle is if you double tap it, you can do it frame by frame. And I think you can also do the same. Yes, you can on the Kindle Colorsoft, and you just swipe to go to the next one. And again, clearly the iPad mini is winning this in terms of smoothness and color pop. This has to refresh every time, but it's a nice way of interacting with your comic, I think. And weirdly, then when that reaches the end of the page, it goes to full. You have to go to the next page and it starts again. I think it does anyway. There we go. There we are. That's the comparison there as well. I don't know whether you can change this background here, whether I need to go to a dark background. Does that change the background? Yes, it does. So there we are. Let me have a look at that. There we go. Let's turn it up a little bit. That should make things a little bit better. Yeah, there's a graying that's happening as well with the blacks here. It's not more of a true black like it is over here on the Kindle. So that's the color. Which do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. Now we will go back to books. There we go. Okay, so let's go into an actual book. Let's go back into the Shards of Earth here. There we are. And we'll just we'll go to where the words are. There we go. We've got a prologue. Again, a lot snappier over here. So what's different on here? Let's have a look in the AA settings, the AA menu. And with this, you are immediately brought with your fonts, the size, the spacing. But with here, it's different here. So this one loads up your theme straight away. This one loads up the font. So let's just be fair and go on to the font here. These are the font families that we have. So I think Baskerville, Buckley, Celia, Georgia, Helvetica, Dyslexic, Palantino. I think it's just the Futura that we're missing, but it looks like everything's the same. So we do have this Amazon Ember Bold. So we don't have Amazon Ember like we do on here. So let's see what that does. Okay, well, it clearly makes it bold, and that is something that I had noticed was missing, and it's kind of Amazon's way of making up for the fact that there is no bold slider on here. Size, sure, spacing, and again you can do the same thing over here with this line spacing, paragraph spacing, word spacing, and character spacing. So that's the same. So you're missing a few fonts and you're missing the bold. Just for now, let me put things back onto, let's see, what did I have on before? Buckley, I think it was. Let me put this back onto Buckley as well. So obviously on an iPad mini, something like on a tablet, for example, whatever settings you've got here will affect this. So brightness will affect this too. Okay, but that brightness down there is just for the app itself. What else have we got that might be different in here? So have we got any layouts that are different? Okay, so the layouts are the same. Has this got orientation? Yeah, so that's got automatic orientation, and these will change depending on how you have your Kindle, whereas this one, yeah, you have to change the orientation by tapping the button. So a little bit easier to do that on there. You have to tap these things over here. But other than that, it's got margins, alignment, etc. I've also noticed it's got here, you can update it using the system theme. However you've set up your tablet, it will try and copy that theme. But then you've got different page colors here, which this I don't think has anywhere at all. It's just dark and light. You don't get to change the color. So if you like a little bit more gentle sepia color, then you can have that on your iPad mini, but it doesn't have that on here. Another thing that you will notice that's missing from here to here is something called continuous scrolling. So if you tap that, it is no, believe me, it's nowhere on here. Even if I go into manage themes, it's not in there. But what this means is that when you're reading your book on a tablet, you can scroll as if you're reading an article, which you clearly can't do on here. And the simple reason for that would be that the ghosting on the e-ink would be absolutely shocking. It'd be trying to refresh every 2 minutes probably, and even if it wasn't doing that, there'd just be a trace of all the scrolling that you're doing. It would just look shocking within seconds. So quite clearly why we have no scrolling on here. And with the scrolling, you do get something which again is missing. So if we go into, I believe it's the double A settings again, you get something called a reading ruler. You can add a reading ruler over the text to help you guide that reading. So as you can see here, we've now got this band here, which obviously you can't do this at all on here because you can't scroll on a proper Kindle device. You can change the color of that band, as you can see there. Oh, we can do that. There we go. And you can change the opacity as well. So we just go into blue. I think that will make it easier for you to see. And as you're scrolling, it means you're focused in on this particular area here. And I think as well, reading ruler, I think there's some more settings we can change in there. The ruler style. So if it's, you want to choose the word, the line in the middle, that's the one way of doing it. And here we go, some more here. Make it thicker. Well, go back to how we did it before. Ruler size, smaller, so you can focus on that one line. Whatever helps you focus in on what you're reading while you're in scrolling mode. And quite clearly, we can't do that on the Kindle Colorsoft. We are stuck with tapping and swiping like a traditional book. So this is a way of doing it like you'd read an article from the web. Might be easier for you just to scroll up like that, and it can cope with that because it's an LCD, not an e-ink display. So no scrolling on here, and therefore if you don't have scrolling, you don't have the reading ruler. And I did get a comment on one of my videos where the lady had gone from reading on a tablet using the Kindle app to a Kindle device, and she was asking, where's the scrolling, where's the reading ruler? Well, they're clearly nowhere to be seen because that just simply can't support continuous scrolling, which some people might find very, very helpful. For now, we'll just turn that off, and now we've looked at continuous scrolling, indeed turn that off as well. So what else have we got under the AA here that might be different? So layout we've said is the same except for the colors. Here we go, themes. So low vision, I think, just makes everything bold immediately and helps you see it if that's what you need. We don't have that immediately on here. We have to go into manage themes, then go into tap low vision. It's now available as an option on here. So when we tap low vision, it does the same as this one here. It just makes things a little bit more bolder, a little bit more contrasty. If you can't see that well, this should be able to help you. We'll go back into custom. So there we go. And by the way, it's large. Yeah, quick way of defaulting. So that's the same. Go into more. What options are available in more? So we have Assistive Reader on each one here. So if we do Assistive Reader, this is what that now looks like. And if you want to use Assistive Reader on the Kindle, you do need to connect it to either your external speaker or headphones. Go into Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and then we can toggle on the Bluetooth.
Now connected to Kindle.
There we go. You can hear my speakers connected to that. And obviously you've got a speaker built in to an iPad, which you can hear it without using any headphones or external speaker, although you can obviously do that if you like. And this is what that is like.
They were barely visible until she called for magnification. The heart of the colonies had already been gathering its forces for dispatch elsewhere when the architect had emerged from
As you can see here, it's following along with where it is. That's what that's like on there. This I find a little bit awkward.
There was even the breeding hope.
I'm going to have to go to turn that off. I think I have to go back into here and then turn off Assistive Reader. I can't work out how to pause it on there. It's out there.
Carrying these weapons towards the architect in the hope that this new war, it was the seat, prologue in the 78th year of the war.
I noticed there was no following along, real time. Okay, what I hadn't realized is that on here, yeah, you don't need to tap this real-time text highlighting. You don't need to do that on here. And it was narrated while reading, so let's try that.
The galaxy had been going out, one by one, since its start. All those little mining worlds, the far-flung settle.
That might be really helpful for you. That just stops. You can do this with Audible as well. So if you bought an Audible book and you've got the book available on your iPad mini, it will also follow along on here. I don't believe, even if you've got headphones and speakers and whatnot connected on here, you can't follow along with your Audible book at the same time. So you can do that on here, can't do that on your Kindle. What else have we got going on here? Popular highlights. We haven't got an annotation menu on here. That's missing. And anything else we've got going on? We haven't got that much to show on here. You can show the clock if you like while you're reading at the top there. We got that on here. We've got a clock on here too. It's there. And then page animation. So let's tap on page animation, see what the difference is there. So if we turn the page on here, it's got this kind of fade that it does across the page. So it's like a gentle fade, and that's trying to replicate a page turn, which looks a lot more realistic on here. There you go. So you can do a page turn on your iPad mini, and that feels, well, it looks a lot more like a page, doesn't it? Let's compare it again. A gentle fade across, whereas this is an actual page. I don't have that normally switched on here, as you can see, because I just find that annoying. But for some of you, that may be great, just to show that you've turned the page. But I think it's just obvious that you've turned a page because all the text moves. I don't think it adds much to it. Maybe it's a bit gentler. But if I was going to read on my iPad mini, I would turn this on. I like that. I think that's really cool. Okay, everything we've missed on here. Let's go back to the AA menu again. So on here, we've got word-wise that I can't see on this setting. Everything else, I think, is the same there. I don't know where word-wise is on here. I can't see it. It's not obvious. Maybe the Kindle app doesn't have it, but let's see what happens when we just press a word. Okay. What different things do we have here? So we've got highlight, and obviously on the color soft you can choose you can choose a different color that you want to have the highlight done. And a new thing I've noticed is you can also pin a particular word. So I've now pinned it. Now, where do we find those pins once we've pinned it? This is new. The whole pin thing is quite new. I've never come across that before. And what we do to find those pin things, you just tap this kind of notebook icon here, and it shows where you've pinned a word and then where you've bookmarked a page. So that's a nice thing that they've added, that you can now actually pin individual words as well. And clearly you can do that on the iPad mini pin, tap this icon to view a pin. So that's in a different place. So if you pinned anything, it's there at the bottom and it shows you where you've pinned it. Okay, well that's new and handy, I guess. Let's just push that again so we can unpin that, and let's go to this again and we can unpin that, I would have thought. There we are. What other options do we get on the iPad mini that we don't get on the Kindle? So we can make a note. Obviously we can make a note here, so you make a note there, you make a note there, and there we go. So we can do that. Let's get rid of that. Delete. What other options do we have that might be different or the same? So we can share as well. Can we share from here? Yep, we can share via email on Goodreads, and we can report content errors. So everything's pretty much the same there as well. And again, on here, it brings up a dictionary definition and a Wikipedia, which if we were to do that on here, you can see it down at the bottom. Oh, let's choose a word it actually recognizes. There you go. Okay, well on this end, you can bring that up and down and see more of it at the same time, which you can't move this. That's just to get rid of it. So we bring it back, we'd have to do that, and then we go like that, and then across to Wikipedia or translate or search. Whereas this is all in one, and on here you get a search in browser option, and obviously the translate option is there as well. So we can translate any word that might be in a different language, we can discover what it is. So that seems to be similar. That will pronounce the word for you. So this obviously can't do that, even though it is connected to a speaker. It doesn't have that option either. So let's go back. I think that's all the AA menu stuff that we've covered. Now anything in the actual settings itself. So we've got about this book, synced for this read is there. Can't go to a particular page from here. And we've got X-ray is available on both. On here we've got popular highlights, which I don't think are on here. So we've got any popular highlights? No, it's faded out unless it's not supported by this particular book. All right, that's really interesting, and it kind of splits the screen as well. So you've got a little book, so you could view the highlights as you go. There we are. Obviously, if you tap it, we'll go to it. But for some reason, that is not available to view on here. Oh, hang on a minute. That's because I think I turned off the highlights. There we go. So you need to turn on popular highlights for that option. Oops. I do that a lot. I tap in the corner for that option then to appear on here. Yeah, popular highlights. There we go. It is now there. Not in that kind of handy split screen that you have on the other one, but nevertheless, they are still there. So that works all the same too. I don't think there's anything else that's different on there. And obviously you can disable touchscreen, which I told you all about in another video. It just disables tapping. You have to actually swipe. You can't just tap and accidentally turn the page. You don't have that on here. So there you go. There are some significant differences depending on how you like to read on your Kindles between the Kindle app and a Kindle device itself. You'll have to let me know in the comments below, which do you prefer, the app or the Kindle? I think for me, this is my takeaway, the Kindle, as always, is going to be that better book-like experience. You haven't got anything shining at you. The front lights are shining across the page to light it up. I think even though the colours do pop better on here, I think I just prefer this look. It's a bit, the colours are less saturated and things like that. And so for reading and coming across the occasional image and things like that, I just think that works better. But I could well see your argument if on here you prefer reading comics, because they do pop, and that kind of tap to move to the next pane just works better on there. Every now and again the full page on here will show up, and that I think is a bit annoying. So comics, I would argue,
Now disconnected from Kindle.
better to read, I think, on this kind of device. You can always turn down the white point and things like that on here just to make it a little bit easier on the eyes. But for more longer term reading, this is definitely better for you in my opinion. And the most obvious thing is no distractions on this thing. Yes, you suppose you could turn the Wi-Fi off on here and turn down your distractions, but there's always that temptation. Ooh, what's going on social media? Is there any new YouTube videos or anything like that? Quickly turn on your Wi-Fi and you're back in the game and you're out of your book. Whereas this, you only got this with you, then you're stuck in your book. There's no other notifications and things to be had, and I really appreciate that. Also, this waterproof. I read the bath a lot. If you watch any of my videos, you know that. I love that. I love I can just sit in a nice warm bath and just read to my heart's content, and I'm not going to have to concern myself with damaging my device. Can't certainly do that with an iPad mini, so a negative point on that. But if your eyesight isn't great, there are obviously assistive things you can do on here as well, and that follow along word with assistive reading, even though it sounds weird, will help you with this. But that infinite scrolling on here with the reading ruler, I can really see how that would help someone who doesn't have, you know, the best eyesight, and that must be a massive plus point for the app, and that would just be nigh impossible, like I said, to do on here. Okay guys, over to you. What do you prefer, the Kindle app or the Kindle device itself? There are pros and cons, I think, for both. So which do you use? Which is your preferred one? Clearly one is cheap in terms of if you've already bought the device, the Kindle app is free, just got to buy the books, whereas you're going to have to fork out to buy for the device and then for the books. So there's a bit more of a cost to this, but only if you've already bought this to do other things as well. That's still more expensive than something like this. So yeah, let me know in the comments which one you use and why. That would be awesome. Like, subscribe, hype, that would be all good. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, buy me a coffee. I think I've got the QR code. You can scan the screen here if you're watching on the telly, or there'll be a link in the description. I'll also put a link, some affiliate links for Kindle Coloursoft and what have you, if you fancy checking it out. And if you do purchase one of these via that link, that will help the channel. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, happy reading on whichever device you choose.